860 AM Philadelphia and WPEN HD2 Burlington, Philadelphia. The following programming is sponsored by Mark J. Bernstein. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Entrepreneur, founder, author, and financial advisor, Mark Bernstein helps high-performing business owners turn their visions into reality. At March Forward, Mark and his partners and associates think out of the box to partner with their clients in regards to their visions for their lives, their businesses, and their legacies. And through his innovative work with the Forward Focus Forums, Mark connects entrepreneurs to resources that help to fuel their success. Founders Forum is a radio show and podcast where entrepreneurs share their journeys, reveal the stories behind their successes, and the lessons they've learned. Join Mark and his guests for a mix of inspiration, valuable insights, and a bit of fun. Now let's dive in.
Good morning, America. How are you? How are you, Philadelphia? We're in Philadelphia today, and with my guest, Justin, who I'll introduce in a minute. And it is the home, I think it's the home, the main center for the America 250 semi-quincentennial. I've practiced saying that word a lot. And it's so there's a lot going on here coming up. The World Cup's coming, the All-Star Game's coming, the all kinds of other good celebrations in Philadelphia. And Justin came in from Pittsburgh, and you staying near Independence Hall, you said?
Yes. This morning, yeah.
Yeah, we had a little microphone problem with you there.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. I got you now. So Justin is an entrepreneur like everybody pretty much on the show, but I'm going to introduce him formally in a minute. But the question I want to ask you, it's a leading question, and I have some answers. I wrote a book called The Fiscal Therapy Solution. Talks a lot about entrepreneurs and retirement. But I wanted to ask you, what is life after your business in your case?
Yes.
Because you recently did an exit, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on. And we're going to record another show today, which you're going to accompany me on. And he also did the same thing.
Yeah.
So what's your view from where you are on life after your business?
Well, I mean, it's a great question. It's a loaded question, I think, because it's something that you're not really prepared for, especially me at 47 years old. I exited it relatively early, I believe. But when private equity was coming through my industry, there's not a lot of scalable businesses. And, we were working in a very niche area of the medical supply industry. So they probably were only going to take one swipe at it to consolidate. So it was either you're on board or you're not on board. But I mean, everything was very competitive offer, everything. We were very happy with the way the exit went. And I'm in year 2 of my transitioning out of my own business, which is, it's weird to say after you found it and you lived in it for 14 years. But, it's a journey. Being an entrepreneur, you don't really have time to form hobbies. Your business is your hobby. Right. So it's learning what to do with your time. Right now my wife and I are finally getting into philanthropy. I mean, there's a couple of causes in Pittsburgh that we're supporting.
Nice.
We're getting into some real estate investing, some short-term rentals that keeps us interested in different areas of the country that we like to visit ourselves. And then, me personally, I don't have a lot of tread on my tires when it comes to startups anymore, but I know how to execute a startup. It's the physical toll. It's for me, I always call it a young man's game, right? But I have all the knowledge, and I've been through it all, from founding the business to scaling to exiting to transitioning out to helping further consolidate the industry. So I would like to find some way to pay that forward in some type of advisory consulting role, or becoming a active investor in a startup. I mean, that's really what's going to light my fire again.
Nice. So this is a little different kind of interview for me, because usually we start at the beginning and go to the end. I wanted to start at the end because I thought you have some great perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that'll filter into our conversation throughout the show today.
Great.
So let's go back to the beginning. And to do that, I have your formal biography but I'm going to read the note that you originally wrote to me when we met on LinkedIn, which is how I meet a lot of my guests.
Yeah.
I will just say this is Justin Tennant. He is founder and lead executive of Surgical Product Solutions, was lead executive of Surgical Product Solutions. And he's an entrepreneur, investor, and business advisor who's now specializing in helping founders navigate the entire business life cycle. But here's what he wrote to me. I come from a second-generation steel mill family in the blue-collar town of Weirton, West Virginia, where I learned early on that nothing is given, it's earned. I'm a proud University of Pittsburgh alumnus, but my path was untraditional. I paid my own way through school, working full-time during the day and taking night classes at Pitt to earn my degree. The foundation of discipline followed me into my early career at BNY Mellon, where I rose to become one of the youngest vice presidents of the bank at the time. See, to me, this is very interesting part of your story. His true calling, I'll turn it to the third person now, was entrepreneurship. At 29, he left the corporate world, and at 30, he founded Surgical Product Solutions, SPS, from the ground up with no outside assistance, which is, I'm glad you wrote that because people don't realize that because there's so many businesses that do have help.
Yeah.
And you did it on your own.
It was pure bootstrap. Yeah.
I know you had a partner, but you were the lead and you led that from the ground up. Over the next 15 years, they scaled SBS into a national enterprise with over 80 employees, grossing over $40 million annually. I want to emphasize that in a 15-year period, with businesses in all 50 states. He had the honor to be recognized for this growth as a finalist for the Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year in 2023, which my commentary is a very big deal. In 2024, he successfully exited his business through a sale to Shore Capital Partners, a private equity firm out of Chicago. Following the sale, he's worked closely with them through the complexities of consolidation and recapitalization. He lives in Pittsburgh today with his wife, Brooke, and their 4 wonderful children. And as he mentioned, his current passion is paying it forward. He's eager to share the knowledge, the scars, the successes, and his journey to help others succeed in both business and life.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. That sounds a lot neater than the journey's been. But.
Right. Well, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, that's I always tell people we don't have to say this because a lot of shows we skip to kind of because we're doing it quickly and they say, so we had this an issue, and then after that we kind of started growing, and I said, it was all easy after that, right?
Yeah.
And of course, everybody laughs. So as you know, so let's start at the beginning from I kind of told your background, but
sure, I
know you were the first to do many things in your family. There's something about you that wanted to do something big.
Yeah. So growing up in a small mill town of Weirton, West Virginia, it was a one-horse pony or one horse town. The steel mill employed everyone's father, right? So when I was younger, it was good Middletown living, and then the steel mill eventually went under, and the town kind of went
Your
under.
Parents still live there, by the way?
They still live there, yes. It's since transformed to a suburb of Pittsburgh because it's only about 40 miles outside of Pittsburgh. But, the town kind of crumbled with the steel mill.
Sure.
And I didn't want to live that way. And my only way out was through education. I left my house at 18. I funded most of my own way through college. But, my dad being a second generation steel mill, he taught me a lot about work ethic and taking pride in your work and outworking your competition. And I got a job at 16, and I've been working full time my entire life since then until now. So it's kind of a transitioning out is kind of a shock to me in that sense, as well as I've been working full time since I was 16 years old. But that work ethic is I would say my competitive advantage when I started my company, because learning how to work efficiently and be kind of a perfectionist and putting in more hours than your competition. Even Elon Musk says that there's only 24 hours in a day, right? So you need to outwork that competition if you want to get ahead from a startup perspective.
When you got out of college, you started in the mortgage industry, I understand.
Yeah.
And do you want to comment on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, when I was a business management major with economics minor, finance minor. But I graduated in September 2001. 9/11 happened right after I graduated. So the market, the job market wasn't existing. So the mortgage industry was at that time was starting to just boom because of interest rates coming down so low. So it was kind of something I just fell into.
Gotcha. So, and from there you went to Bank of New York Mellon.
Yeah.
And I find this interesting because I think this is the experience you had there. I think is something that might be helping you today, because you apparently you were working on the post-merger integration between BNY and Mellon.
Yes. Yeah, right. So I joined Bank of New York Mellon 1 year after they merged. So it was Mellon Bank and Bank of New York, two banks, and they merged into one. It was really an acquisition. Bank of New York acquired Mellon, but they kept the brand the same. And so the first year of the, merger was just on paper. Second year is, you have two banks that have duplicated everything, systems, people, processes. I was put on a team just because of my, Swiss Army knife of skills within business at that time to, be on a team where we evaluate the duplicated processes, systems, people, and kind of merge them together or find best practices or eliminate one and move completely over to another. So I learned a lot
of decisions to make there.
I saw a lot of, on that team I was more of a financial analyst, but I learned the importance of data when it comes to decision making. I learned how people evaluate business at a high level, how people evaluate people within business, how systems work. I learned a lot in that process. I mean, I didn't particularly like the job because I was working 80 and 90 hours a week. But
how long were you there?
I was there for 5 years. Yeah, but it definitely is where I got my chops, my business chops. I had the education before that. That's where I earned my chops.
And you left there. Why did you leave there?
I left there just because I was getting to that point where I was grinding for somebody else. I was working, like I said, 70 to 90 hours for a salary. There was no additional. And, I just felt like I could, if I'm going to be working this hard, why not work for myself?
Makes a lot of sense. So I thought you mentioned another issue before to me, but we don't have to get into that. But I figured that was the ultimate reason why you did that. So, so then you found a partner and you got into, and I think he had medical device sales experience, right?
Yes. I bet my partner, Stephen DeRossi, through a mutual friend. And it just so happens that, Steve is an entrepreneur himself. I mean, he just bleeds it. I mean, when I met him, he had 5 business ideas to present to me.
Okay.
And, the medical thing really, it wasn't, the idea that he pitched wasn't really how the business turned out, but it was what springboarded us in that direction.
And what exactly did you do in that for our listeners? What did you do in the industry?
So Surgical Product Solutions, we call ourselves an independent distributor of medical devices. So we don't have any relationships with any manufacturers. We buy all our supplies on the open market. Majority of it comes from hospitals as surplus or abandoned product. And we sell surgical devices that are used, one-time use. So they're opened up in surgery, so they have to be sterile. So they only have a shelf life of 3 years, sterility life. So if a hospital's not using it, it eventually goes in the garbage because the sterility runs out. So they have an urgency to kind of salvage it off to get some of their money back, and that's where we come in. We come in and we buy it at 20 cents on the dollar. We put it back out in the market to smaller hospitals who can't get the volume discounts that the large ones can, and we give it to them at a discount.
And they have to use them within that lifespan.
Yeah. So that's why we cater more to like outpatient surgery centers and smaller hospitals because they don't really stock a lot of inventory because they can't buy that much.
They're going to use them quickly.
They're going to use it very quickly, yeah. And
sense.
And they appreciate the discount that we provide.
Yeah.
And we came on the market. We had one competitor So we kind of helped pioneer it. But
I was going to say, probably not a lot of companies doing
No. Yeah. I mean, again, a guy coming from banking, it was a whole new world to me that I didn't even know existed.
Guess what? I told you time flies when you're having fun on the show. It's already time for a commercial break. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Justin Tennant.
Thank you.
The Sattel Institute is the leading CEO member organization dedicated to corporate social responsibility. Under the vision and leadership of its founder, entrepreneur and philanthropist Ed Sattel, the Institute brings together CEOs in Philadelphia and other cities to support the nonprofit organizations that do heroic work in our communities. The Sattel Institute believes that community is every leader's business. SI's members-only meetings and private CEO conferences give members the opportunity to hear from world-class thought leaders on crucial topics like AI, education, corporate philanthropy, and more. In addition, CEO members get the opportunity to share ideas and experience with their peers, like-minded CEOs who believe in the importance of giving back to the community and who understand the benefits companies get from embracing corporate social responsibility. The Sattel Institute charges no dues or fees. In order to join, member companies simply make a long-term commitment to the nonprofit of their choice. To find out more about membership and why so many leading companies are now part of the Sattel Institute, visit the organization's website at sattelinstitute.org. Sattel, S-A-T-E-L-L, institute.org. As Ed Sattel says, think we, not just me.
We're back on Founders Forum. I'm watching TJ bopping there in the engineers room there. Glad you're having a good time, TJ.
It's always a good time.
There you go. I like it. So anyway, Justin, so you and your partner, Steve, started this business.
Yes.
And you had a niche business.
Correct.
And you overtook it, and then it was easy from that point on.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time. I mean, I used to eat breakfast at his kitchen table with his kids. I mean, I used to go over his house every day. I didn't work. I didn't pay myself for 3 years because we were just reinvesting in it. My wife supported my family. Thank God for her at that time. But, we would just grind until we got proof of concept. We found proof of concept. We were lucky enough to go and have a kind of a family friend loan us some money that we eventually paid back to buy more inventory and to start hiring people. And I think if there's a lucky horseshoe for us, if there's, some guardian angel, we found some really good people early. Like our first 3 or 4 hires, they were bought into the idea of the company and wanted to, they had an entrepreneur mindset themselves.
They were salespeople.
Salespeople, yes. But, they helped us paved the path forward, and they came up with their own ideas. And I mean, it was a think tank, and it was very, collaborative early on.
I was, as you were saying, as you started, I was thinking collaborative. I was going to mention that word myself. So,
and some of them still work for the company to this day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Do they? Well, let me ask you this. So, obviously, there were challenges. What kind of challenges did you have along the way? Which ones occurred to you? And what did you learn from those challenges? What kind of strengths did you bring that you're probably able to talk about today?
Yeah, I think our biggest challenge early on was learning our customer and what was important to them. We were coming out of the gate, hey, we got cheap medical devices. That doesn't always ring well for a hospital, right? I mean, their antenna goes up for it. They respond in a wrong way when it comes to that. So we had to learn what's important to them. And, risk is very important to them. So we had to build early on. We learned to build our quality control process around what makes our customers comfortable to buy from us. We learned how to go through value analysis
and how to convey that to them
exactly in a proper way and have them trust. I mean, healthcare is all about trust. If you could build a trusting relationship, number one, they could trust what you're providing, and number two, your deliverables. You have to deliver perfectly. We learned that as well as. A lot of these hospitals were doing just-in-time ordering with us, meaning they didn't stock the shelf. They bought for the surgery the next day. Yeah. So if you messed up that shipment, they had to cancel a surgery. You lose a customer for life.
Right.
But if you deliver, you're saving them so much cash flow for not having to stock they'll be married for you for life, right? So that's kind of the healthcare market.
Did you lose a customer along the way?
We lost a few along the way,
That's a quick way to learn, right?
Yeah, and then once we got large enough, we started to realize that the manufacturers don't really like us, right? Because we're competing with them, but we're competing with their reps with their own devices, and undercutting them in certain accounts. So we had to learn to deal with that as well. When you got Johnson & Johnson, who's a $40 billion, and we're just a little gnat compared to them. I mean, it's a little nerve-wracking to learn how to stay in your lane and learn how to, not bump up too hard against these large companies who see you as a threat.
Right. So one lesson was really understanding your customers, learning how to create your value proposition for them.
Correct.
And convey it properly. And anything else? What other? I'm sure there's lots of other lessons learned along the way.
Yeah, I think for me, it's that. I mean, understanding who your customer is, and not really trying to sell them on what you think they want, actually understanding what they want, and then building your service or your product around that. Number one. Number two is don't be afraid to invest in really good people. We learned that along the way too. Is you pay for, just like sports, you pay for talent, and we were never cheap when it came to investing in people.
So you learned that early on.
Yes,
I'm sure because your company's still going, you're still involved in it, even though you're no longer the sole owners.
Yeah,
but I assume there's a certain culture that you built that continues today.
Yes.
How would you describe that culture?
It's a winning culture, and again, I mean that starts from the ownership. We when you're a startup, there's no need to create urgency because urgency's already there. You're buying time each day you survive, right? And everyone has a limited amount of capital, so you're urgent every day, and you want to be a perfectionist every day. But that carries on. If you have strong people that you eventually move into management, that culture exists through them, right? And it's once hey, this is just like football coaches, man. You set a standard of performance, and you just hold everyone accountable to that mark, and you live and die by that standard.
Yeah. So that culture, and I assume that I'm assuming that the purchases you're still involved, but that culture is maintaining itself.
Yes, because
that's one of the hardest things in private equity.
It is, and that's some of our top managers who's eventually taken over the operations of my company. They are those first three hires, so they came up with me, so that they're preaching it and living it every day still.
That's got to make you feel proud because that doesn't happen that often where a company's acquired.
Yes,
and your people were so enmeshed in a positive way in the culture and in the things that you showed them that that's going to continue. You can have confidence that that's going on.
100%. Like I said, I mean, if there was our golden horseshoe, it's that we found some really good people early on that gave us a real big competitive advantage, and still does.
I'm going to reverse myself again in what I usually do. I'm going to ask you a question that I'd often ask you at the end because I think it's a good place to do it because what you're doing today is helping other entrepreneurs and startups and you've shared some valuable lessons. If you could advise them today on one thing, or in the other way we phrase the question is if you could advise your younger self, what would you say to them and or you?
I think, when you're pioneering a new startup, each day's a new adventure, right? Because everything's a little unexpected. You can't really plan for it. But I would say, don't be timid in your decision making. You just go for it because what I've learned is the downside isn't always as bad as you think it is, right?
Right.
There's always a point to recover. If you're monitoring your business well, you're going to see whether it's a of decisions, working or not, and you have room to pivot. So what I see a lot of people, they're just timid when it comes to getting off the ground. And that's, the early part of startup is when you should not be timid. You have to go all in. Yeah.
And the worst thing that happens if you make a mistake is you learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Grow, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all a learning process. And like I said, the sky's never, as gray as you think it is going to be.
Justin, as happens on the show, we only have a few minutes left. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your 3-year vision. So this is June of 2026. If you and I are talking, it's June of 2029. We're looking back on the last 3 years. What would have to happen for you in your life to feel that was a successful 3-year period?
Yes, number one is, catching up on family time. I have 4 wonderful children, wonderful wife that, I wasn't always present for some of the moments. So it's catching up on that family time is very important to me. Number 2 is paying it forward. Like you mentioned, I mean, the steps on the where I want to see myself next is, helping out those entrepreneurs, those young entrepreneurs who are pioneering, who, are out there alone. I could give them a compass, right? I could show them certain paths. I could help them make a decision, because it is a lonely road.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself an ongoing learner, a lifelong learner?
Oh, 100%. I mean, if you're, it's just how my brain operates is, it's thirsty for information every day.
How do you get your information? Do you read? Do you listen to podcasts?
I think all of the above.
Say you listen to podcasts. No,
yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Podcasts, and I'm more of an audio book kind of guy. I do like to read, but I really stay up on current events and trends and market trends mostly.
Gotcha. Last question I have is what would you like to think about your legacy?
That's a good question because it's kind of, you don't really think about a legacy at 47 years old.
Right.
But, for me, it comes down to providing opportunity, not only for my family and living a lifestyle that we never dreamed that we would live at this point, but also for the people who took that journey with me. This company changed a lot of people's lives in a positive way.
Yeah. So, well, that is a legacy already, which is a great thing. And I know you're young, but I know it's you've already created one. So, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here, Justin. Thanks to all of you for listening today on Founders Forum, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed your time with Founders Forum today and you found value to take with you throughout your day. Join us again next week for another episode of Founders Forum on WWDB Talk Radio and always at the Founders Forum show page at www.dbam.com. Founders Forum was brought to you in part by March Forward, LLC. We partner with entrepreneurs like you to assist in accomplishing your future vision, your life, your business, your legacy. Comprehensive wealth planning that starts with you, not a product. We hope you enjoyed your time with Founders Forum and that you found something of value to take with you throughout your day. Join us again next week for another episode of Founders Forum on WWDB 860 AM Philadelphia or on your favorite podcast streaming service. Securities offered through DFPG Investments LLC, DFPG. Investment advisory services offered through Diversify Advisory Services LLC, Diversify. DAS and DFPG are affiliated entities. March is unaffiliated with DAS and DFPG. Members FINRA/SIPC. The information provided in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be interpreted as investment advice. The views expressed are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Diversify or DFPG.